Everyone in the neighborhood knew Karen. She was the kind of woman who watched people from behind her curtains. She knew who parked where. She knew who came home late. And she loved to remind everyone that she was part of the HOA. Karen believed rules were only for other people. She lived in the biggest house on the street. Her lawn was perfect. Her voice was loud. And her confidence was even louder. But Karen was not alone. She had a son named Jake. Jake was 21 years old and acted like he owned the whole block. He drove fast cars. He played loud music at night. He laughed when people complained. And Karen always said the same thing. My son is special. Nobody can touch him. Across the street lived a quiet man named Mark. Mark was different from the others. He worked long hours and stayed to himself. He did not join HOA meetings. He did not argue. He just wanted peace. Mark loved one thing more than anything else. His boat. The boat was old but strong. His father helped him build it many years ago. Every nail had a memory. Every mark had a story. Mark kept the boat near his house, clean and covered. He planned to fix it and sail again one day. But Karen did not like the boat. She said it ruined the look of the street. She sent letters. She gave warnings. She added fines. Mark tried to explain. It is temporary, he said calmly. Karen did not listen. One afternoon, Karen stood on the sidewalk with Jake. She pointed at the boat. That thing should not be here, she said. Jake looked at the boat and smiled. Not a friendly smile. A cruel one. That night, everything changed. Mark was asleep when he smelled something strange. It was sharp and heavy. Smoke. His eyes opened fast. He sat up and listened. A crackling sound filled the air. Mark ran to the window. His heart stopped. Outside, bright orange flames danced in the dark. His boat was on fire. And no, he whispered. Mark rushed outside in his shoes and pajamas. The heat hit his face. The fire was spreading fast. Neighbors came out, shocked and silent. Some pulled out their phones. Others covered their mouths. Mark tried to move closer, but it was too late. The boat burned loudly. Then Mark heard laughter. Soft at first. Then louder. He turned his head. Across the street, under a streetlight, someone stood watching. It was Jake. He was holding something in his hand. A lighter. Jake looked at the fire like it was a show. Then he looked at Mark. Their eyes met. Jake smiled. That smile was full of pride. No fear. No regret. Just confidence. Karen's voice came from behind him. What is going on here? She walked up and saw the fire. Instead of shock, her face showed anger. Who did this? She shouted. People pointed. Someone said, we saw Jake. Karen laughed. That's a lie, she said quickly. My son would never do this. Jake put the lighter in his pocket and said nothing. Mark's hands shook. That boat was not just wood and metal. It was his father's memory. It was his dream. Mark looked at Karen. Your son did this, he said quietly. Karen stepped closer. You better be careful, she warned. My son is protected. Police sirens filled the air. Red and blue lights flashed across the street. Officers stepped out and asked questions. Karen spoke the loudest. My son is innocent, she said again and again. Jake stood behind her, calm and relaxed. The fire was put out, but the damage was done. The boat was black and broken. Mark stood there in silence. Inside his mind, something changed. This was not just an accident. This was personal. As the police left, Karen leaned toward Mark and whispered. Let this go. You don't want problems. Mark looked at the ashes of his boat. Then he looked back at Karen. For the first time, his eyes showed fire too. "This is not over," he said. And Karen did not realize it yet. But that night was the beginning of her fall. The fire was gone. But the fear stayed. The next morning, the street looked normal again. Birds were singing. Cars were parked neatly. Only Mark's yard was different. The boat was still there. Burned. Broken. Silent. People slowed their cars to look. Some shook their heads. Others whispered. Mark stood near the boat, staring at the damage. He did not cry. He did not speak. He was thinking. Across the street, Karen opened her front door like nothing happened. She walked out with her coffee cup. Her face was calm. Too calm. Jake followed her, wearing headphones, smiling to himself. Karen looked at the boat inside. "So sad," she said loudly. "Accidents like this happen." Mark turned toward her. "This was not an accident," he said. Karen raised her eyebrows. "Do you have proof?" she asked. Mark did not answer. Karen smiled and walked away. Later that day, Mark checked his mailbox. Inside was an envelope. It was from the HOA. Notice of violation. It said his burned boat was an eyesore. It said he had 3 days to remove it. It said there would be a fine. Mark laughed softly. His boat was burned. And they were fining him. Only one person could do this. Karen. That evening, Karen stood in the middle of the street with a clipboard. She was talking to 2 neighbors. "Rules are rules," she said. "We must keep the community clean." Jake leaned against her car, watching Mark's house. When Mark stepped outside, Jake clapped slowly. "Nice boat," Jake said. "Oh wait. I forgot." He laughed. Mark felt anger rise in his chest. But he stayed calm. "I hope you enjoyed it," Mark said. Jake stepped closer. "You can't prove anything," Jake whispered. "And even if you could, my mom will fix it." Karen turned and smiled proudly. "My son is a good boy," she said. "He would never hurt anyone." That night, Mark could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw fire. He sat up and turned on his laptop. He opened the security camera files. The screen loaded slowly. Then he saw it. A figure walking toward the boat. A familiar walk. A familiar face. Jake. Clear as day. Mark's heart started beating fast. The camera caught everything. The fuel. The lighter. The smile. Mark leaned back in his chair. Karen thought she controlled the street. Jake thought he was untouchable. They were both wrong. Mark saved the video. He closed the laptop. And for the first time since the fire, he smiled. Outside, Karen's house lights turned off. She went to bed peacefully. She had no idea what was coming next. Jake always believed one thing. Nothing bad could ever happen to him. That morning, he stood in front of the mirror, fixing his hair. Music played loudly in his room. He felt proud. Outside, Mark's burned boat still sat in the yard like a dark shadow. Jake looked out the window and smirked. "Worth it," he said to himself. Karen was already awake. She was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. HOA emails filled the screen. She typed fast. Reminder, unapproved items must be removed. She clicked send and smiled. Karen believed control was power. And she had both. Across the street, Mark did not sleep at all. His eyes were tired, but his mind was sharp. He sat quietly, watching the video again and again. Each time hurt. But each time made him stronger. He copied the video onto a small drive. Then another. Then his phone. He was careful. He knew people like Karen did not lose easily. Around noon, a police car slowly drove into the street. Jake noticed first. His smile faded for a second. The car stopped near Mark's house. 2 officers stepped out. Neighbors opened doors and windows. Phones came out again. Karen walked outside with confidence. "Good afternoon, officers," she said sweetly. "Is there a problem?" One officer nodded. "We need to ask a few questions about the fire." Karen laughed softly. "Oh, that old thing," she said. "Such a shame. But accidents happen." Mark stepped forward. "I'd like to show you something," he said calmly. Karen turned quickly. "No need for that," she said. "This man is emotional." Mark did not look at her. He handed the drive to the officer. "Please watch," he said. The officer plugged it in. The screen showed the street at night. Then Jake appeared. Walking. Pouring fuel. Lighting the fire. Laughing. The officer paused the video. He looked at Jake. Jake's face went pale. "That's fake," Karen shouted. "He's trying to frame my son." The officer played the video again. Slower this time. Clearer. Karen's voice broke. Jake took a step back. I didn't think," he started. The officer raised his hand. "Sir, please remain quiet." For the first time in his life, Jake felt fear. Karen grabbed his arm. "Say nothing," she whispered. "Mommy will handle this." But the street was watching now. Neighbors whispered. Some nodded. Some shook their heads. Stories began to come out. Scratches on cars. Broken fences. Threats. The officer listened carefully. Karen's confidence began to crack. This was not an HOA meeting. This was real. The officer spoke again. "Jake, you are being detained for questioning." Handcuffs clicked. The sound was loud. Final. Jake looked at his mother. She had no words. Mark stood quietly. No smile. No anger. Just relief. As the police car drove away, Karen stayed frozen. Her power was slipping. And everyone could see it. This was no longer about a boat. This was about truth. And truth had finally arrived on the street. Karen had always been loud. Her voice ruled meetings. Her words scared neighbors. Her name alone stopped complaints. But today, she was silent. She sat in the front seat of her car, hands tied on the steering wheel. The police station stood in front of her. Cold. Gray. Jake sat inside, waiting. For the first time in her life, Karen did not know what to say. Inside the station, Jake's confidence was gone. His shoulders were low. His eyes avoided everyone. He whispered, "Mom, fix this." Karen stood up straight. She walked in like she owned the place. "I am here for my son," she said. "There has been a mistake." The officer looked at her calmly. "We have video proof," he replied. Karen smiled, but her smile was weak. "Videos can be edited," she said. "My son is being targeted." The officer did not argue. He just waited. Minutes passed. Karen tapped her foot. She hated waiting. Across town, Mark sat at his kitchen table. His house was quiet. He felt strange. Not happy. Not sad. Just empty. The boat was gone now. Removed by a tow truck. The yard looked clean. Too clean. A knock came at his door. Mark opened it. 2 neighbors stood there. "We're sorry," one said. "We should have spoken up sooner." Mark nodded. He understood. Fear can be loud too. Back at the station, Karen's phone started buzzing. Messages. Emails. HOA members were talking. They were asking questions. Did your son really do it? Why didn't you tell us? What else have you hidden? Karen felt heat in her chest. She typed fast. Do not spread rumors. But it was too late. The truth was moving faster than her words. The officer returned. Your son is being charged, he said calmly. This is serious. Karen's voice cracked. You don't understand, she said. I control this neighborhood. The officer raised an eyebrow. Not here, he replied. That sentence hit her harder than anything. Outside, neighbors gathered again. Not to watch fire. To watch justice. Someone filmed. Someone posted. Karen's name spread online. The HOA queen was falling. Jake was released later that night, but with conditions. No driving. No contact. No freedom. He walked past the neighbors with his head down. Karen followed. No one moved out of her way anymore. At home, Karen closed the door and leaned against it. The house felt smaller. Quieter. She finally understood something. Power built on fear does not last. Across the street, Mark looked out his window. For the first time, he felt safe. This fight was not over yet. But the balance had changed. And Karen knew it. The courtroom was quiet. Too quiet. Karen hated silence. She liked noise. She liked control. She liked to speak first. But today, she sat still on a hard wooden bench. Her hands were folded. Her face was tight. Jake sat beside her. No smile. No jokes. Just fear. Across the room, Mark sat calmly. He wore a simple shirt. Nothing fancy. He did not look at Karen. He did not need to. The judge walked in. Everyone, please stand. Karen stood slowly. She felt small. The case began. The lawyer spoke about the fire. About damage. About danger. Karen's lawyer tried to defend Jake. He is young, the lawyer said. He made a mistake. The judge nodded and asked one question. A mistake with fire? The video was played. Again. The room watched in silence. Jake's face appeared on the screen. Clear. Smiling. Karen closed her eyes. She had seen this before, but it still hurt. The judge looked at Jake. Do you understand what you did? Jake swallowed. Yes, he said quietly. Karen leaned forward. He is a good boy, she said suddenly. He just needs another chance. The judge raised a hand. Mrs. Karen, he said. This is not an HOA meeting. People in the room whispered. Karen's face turned red. Neighbors spoke next. One by one. They shared stories. Broken rules. Threats. Fear. Each story hit Karen like a wave. She wanted to interrupt. She could not. Mark stood last. He spoke softly. That boat was my father, he said. It was not just wood. The judge listened. Then he spoke. Jake is guilty. The words felt heavy. Karen's world shook. Jake lowered his head. The judge continued. There will be punishment. Karen grabbed Jake's arm. No, she whispered. But the decision was already made. Outside the courtroom, people talked. Karen walked out fast. No one followed her. No one asked questions. She had no crowd now. Mark stayed back for a moment. He breathed deeply. Justice did not feel loud. It felt quiet. And final. Karen looked back once. She saw Mark. He did not smile. He did not gloat. That hurt her the most. Because she knew. She had truly lost. The street felt different. No shouting. No warning letters. No fear. For the first time in years, people walked outside without looking over their shoulders. Karen's house was quiet. The curtain stayed closed. Her mailbox was full. Her car did not move. Inside, Karen sat alone at the kitchen table. The HOA binder lay in front of her. Thick. Heavy. She opened it and flipped through the pages. Rules. Fines. Signatures. Once, this book made people afraid. Now, it meant nothing. Her phone buzzed. HOA emergency meeting, tonight. Karen's hands tightened. That evening, the community center was full. More people came than ever before. Karen walked in late. No one looked at her. She took her usual seat in front. Someone else stood up instead. "We need change," a neighbor said. Heads nodded. Another spoke. "We stayed quiet too long." Karen tried to speak. No sound came out. A vote was called. Hands went up. Almost all of them. Karen's position was removed. Just like that? No drama. No shouting. Only truth. Karen stood up slowly. She waited for someone to stop her. No one did. She walked out alone. Outside, the night air felt cold. Across the street, Mark watched from his porch. Children played again. Neighbors laughed. The street was alive. Mark felt something warm in his chest. Not revenge. Peace. Later, Mark received help from neighbors. Wood. Tools. Time. They helped him rebuild. The boat slowly returned. Not the same. But strong. Karen watched from her window. She saw people together. She was not part of it. Power built on fear had ended. And the street finally breathed again. People thought the boat was the only thing that burned. They were wrong. That night, something else turned to ash too. Fear. For years, the neighborhood lived quietly, not because it was peaceful, but because people were scared to speak. They followed rules they did not believe in. They stayed silent to stay safe. But fire changes things. Mark stood near the water one early morning. The rebuilt boat floated gently. It was not perfect. But it was his. He touched the wood and smiled. Not because he won. But because he survived. Across the street, Karen watched from behind her window. No clipboard. No letters. No power. Just a woman sitting with her thoughts. Jake was gone for a while now. Facing consequences. Learning lessons Karen never taught. Karen finally understood something. Protecting a child does not mean protecting their mistakes. Silence filled her house. Not the kind that gives control. The kind that teaches. The street slowly became a place again. People talked. Kids played. Neighbors helped each other. Mark took the boat out one afternoon. The sun was soft. The water was calm. As the boat moved forward, Mark looked back at the street. He did not feel anger. Only relief. Some lessons come late. Some come hard. But they come. And the neighborhood would never forget the night when fire tried to destroy peace. But ended up bringing it back.